All right, welcome back. So we're going to continue with Situational Awareness by Leopold Aschenbrenner. Bright and early in the morning, good time to be up and doing things. So I subscribe to the World Economic Forum on YouTube, and I just want to say, don't be taken by surprise. The part of the problems in AI, outlined by the author in this overview of the next 10 years, is that it's too out there, transparent. There's no security. You can so easily know what what is happening with AI. It's not like the Manhattan Project. Imagine the Manhattan Project, nuclear energy was just out there for everyone to see. This is the world we live in now, for better or for worse. The author might argue it's a bit for worse. Now we're a little bit into the secretive world because we have companies that are now working on this and protecting their company secrets, but they're not doing it very well, and it's not difficult to be up to date with to not be taken by surprise like people were during the development of the atom bomb. So one of the things the author recommends to do is to invest in stocks. Now, let me be a disclaimer, never invest, never more than you can afford to lose. So if you're going to invest in some stocks, make sure that you have a emergency fund saved up, that you have enough income coming in to cover your monthly expenses, because the emergency fund is for things that would arise unexpectedly that go beyond what you can afford per month. And then after that, contribute to your employer accounts, especially if you have a employer match. Take the match, and then yeah, so that's important. But then beyond that, if you've got some extra cash, especially if you're a really young person, and it has a lot of time to compound, again, not giving financial advice, do it at your own risk. Get your own advising. Being able to position yourself to profit from the rises we're going to see is something I think I'm going to try to do. So, name some penny stock companies or whatever that will be basing their product offering on this new logical advancement. Okay, so let's see what it does there. Now, for me, you might think, oh, this person is a day stock trader. This person really knows what they're doing when it comes to stocks. I don't know why you would think that, but if you do, let me assure you, I'm learning an all new skill. I have the basics down, but when it comes to this sort of thing, it's just all new to me. So what I'm doing is I'm using ChatGPT to learn about it. So we've got a decent answer here. Let's put that in Notepad, and then let's get a more robust answer from the latest a better model. So yep. So there we go. And now let's get a more robust answer. Okay, so we got quite a few different answers there, but we'll look through them all. And I got one more question for it. How do I act as a competent day trader to position myself to benefit from the advances in the stock market due to an incoming AI boom? So you need a brokerage account. That matters a lot. And again, this can be done through an employer, but you know, if you don't manage it yourself, then people take a cut, and then not only that, there might not be quite as much. Yeah, so again, be really careful with this. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. We'll move on eventually, but we can see we need to stay informed and educated. So that's the most important thing. The World Economic Forum, that new technological development, I learned about it there. But most importantly, I would say is before you really spend a lot of money on buying stocks for these companies, attend their shareholder meetings and take a look at their sites and see if they have regular announcements, because a good time to, and remember, you can't time the market. So it's yeah, and again, disclaimer, but yeah, so you can't, there's a lot of and then the other thing is dollar cost averaging is a bad strategy, because a dollar in the market is worth the same as a dollar outside the market. So it's better have your dollars in the market, and then if you have a need to take them out, then you take them out of the market, rather than the opposite. You have them out of the market, and then if you have a need to put them in, the need would be to have your money grow over time. Now you have less time for the money to grow. So dollar cost averaging is a really bad strategy. Anyone who tells you it's a good strategy, you should probably unfollow, to be honest, because they're just an influencer and they're trying to entertain you, and they're not actually trying to give you good advice. They're just telling you what everyone else says because it makes them sound more credible. But if you go to Harvard, if you just type in Harvard, the best school in the United States, Harvard University here, or one of the best schools. There's a lot of good schools in the United States. There's you can subscribe to a channel, and or like a podcast. You can take classes as well. I think it's hard sometimes to take classes, but there's a channel I subscribe to that I would recommend. So if we look at my subscriptions here, we show more, and then we so there's Dwarkesh. That's a good channel. It might be in my other one, but yeah, so let's take a look at that, because I definitely recommend that channel. So if I click all subscriptions here, it should take me to a new page, but we can see it looks like it's broken. Oh, there we go. Okay, so let's Harvard, see if we get any matches there. Okay, so we've got 3 matches. And so we got 2 matches now. But I don't see all right, I don't see a well, that's too bad. Maybe it's on my other channel. No. No. So, well, that's too bad. I thought I had that, but basically, be careful about what influencers will tell you. People just trying to get rich on convincing you to watch them, because they're just going to tell you what you want to hear. They're going to tell you what sounds safe, what sounds like it makes sense. So they're going to tell you to dollar cost average. Basically, everyone in the world's going to tell you to dollar cost average because it sounds good. And the other thing you need to know is there's something called snowball, and there's something called uh, the avalanche. So some of these techniques, like dollar cost averaging, are designed to play to your psychology, to make it so that you don't make risky bad moves. Um, so maybe there's some truth into doing that. Um, but really, if you are playing it to win, you should do some sort of meditation or something. HRV meditation is great, and just make the right moves, even if it looks as though they're wrong. And I like to think of it like poker. The more you make the right moves over time, the more you will win, even if here and now you end up losing. But again, I am not the person to listen to when it comes to this. I have no, I don't have a trading plan. I don't have trading tools and platforms. And I'm just starting this basically for the first time. And the only reason I know anything about this is because I'm reading what ChatGPT is telling me, which could, I might have to read that at my own peril. So let's take a look at some of these stocks here. So um, I kind of want to. Okay, so I want to avoid stocks that have to do with. I want to avoid stocks that have to do with self-driving cars. I just don't really believe in it that much, and I want to focus on stocks that are going to be for data centers and for applying these technologies to like build and train models. Yeah, so Alphabet, yeah, Nvidia. Okay, these are pretty good ones. Now these are high cost per share, but we can see Nvidia is now exploding. So getting on board now might still even be a good bet, just not as much as before. Um, Same thing with AMD. So see how much these are exploding. That's the point of the author, is that they're going to continue to explode like this. See, even just Alphabet is exploding, even Amazon. And the reason these are exploding is because they're doing a lot of things involving data centers. Data centers are critical when it comes to development of the AI in this kind of new space race, this new like nuclear weapon race that we have going on, and that will continue to go on in the next few years. These are going to be essential companies when it comes to that. So, all right, I need to take a break. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. So, yeah, so these look like pretty good bets here. Now, one of the big things when it comes to stock investing is taxes. If you do it in certain accounts, like your employer 401k account, the taxes are handled differently than if you do it like in a private account. There's also a difference between private individual investment accounts and professional stock trader accounts. Um, it's a whole world out there, and it's rough. It's rough out there. So, but we can see the clear trends here for all of these stocks that were identified that have to do with data centers, that have to do with this technology. We can see they're having an explosion right now. Every single one of them, except for Intel, and Intel. Honestly, for 30, this is probably the one you might want because and no, sorry, let me not say that. This is uh yeah. So I might be looking into Intel because we can see it's very low, $30 a share, and it's in the same class as these other companies that are really getting things right. So once Intel figures out how to actually be a good company, which it knew how to do in in on May 5th, 2000, that's probably going to be a good bet. So and not financial advice again, but we can see these tech companies are going from and it's in a short amount of time too. All of this started around 2022, and it's because of AI advancement. And these might be blips if we zoom out on it. Over time, it might just look like this. Here it went from $3 per share to $16 per share. So yeah. All right, but that's that. It's difficult again. Be careful. It's played to prey on your insecurities. Uh, it's tempting to just put more in than is healthy. So it's about those fundamentals, making sure your monthly costs are covered. You have some tucked away for emergencies, especially if you have a high deductible health insurance plan. You should have at least enough for that full deductible, and then you should be getting an employer match if you have one. Not advice again. Disclaimer. 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 But this is all I want to say on this before I move on. So I've already spent 17 minutes on this. It's just too long to have spent on this. So all right. So yeah. So AI lab security isn't much better than any startup security. Directly selling the AGI secrets to the CCP would at least be more honest. Is this what we see at OpenAI or any other American AI lab? No. In fact, what we see is the opposite, the security equivalent of Swiss cheese. Chinese penetration of these labs will be trivially easy using any number of industrial espionage methods, such as simply bribing the cleaning crew to stick USB dongles into laptops. My own assumption is that all such American AI labs are fully penetrated and that China is getting nightly downloads of all American AI research and code right now. So that's kind of an interesting aspect is, how tempting is a bribe. It's almost like an aspect of security is how much people are paid, even the lowest paid person, because yeah, I don't know what to say about that. While it will be tough, I think these secrets are defensible. There are probably only dozens of people who truly need to know the key implementation details for a given algorithmic breakthrough at a given lab, even if a larger number need to know the basic high level idea. You can vet, solo, and intensively monitor these people in addition to radically upgraded InfoSec. What cybersecurity will require. There's a lot of low hanging fruit on security at AI labs. Merely adopting best practices from, say, secretive hedge funds or Google customer data level security would put us in a much better position with respect to regular economic espionage from the CCP. Indeed, there are notable examples of private sector firms doing remarkably well at preserving secrets. Take quantitative trading firms, the Jane Streets of the world. For example, A number of people have told me that in an hour of conversation, they could relay enough information to a competitor such that their firm's alpha would go to around zero, similar to how many key AI algorithmic secrets could be relayed in a short conversation. And yet, these firms manage to keep these secrets and retain their edge. While most of America's leading AI labs have refused to put the natural interest first, rejecting even basic security measures in this tier, if they have any cost or require any prioritization of security, picking this low-hanging fruit would be well within their abilities. But look let's look out just a bit further. Once China begins to truly understand the import of AGI, we should expect the full force of their espionage efforts to come to bear. Think billions of dollars invested, thousands of employees, and extreme measures, such as special operations strike teams. Yeah, so the Chinese equivalent of Jocko and David Goggins are coming to your door. And believe me, if you look at the performance of the China teams in the Olympics for Olympic weightlifting, just look at yeah. So these are special operations strike teams. These are the people really designed for this sort of thing. Dedicated to infiltrating American AGI efforts. What will security for AGI and superintelligence require? In short, this will only be possible with government help. Microsoft, for example, is regularly hacked by state actors, such as Russian hackers recently stole Microsoft executives' emails, as well as government emails Microsoft hosts. So yeah, anyone in the United States who doesn't believe that Russian hacking is real and significant, it definitely is. It comes out of a agency called the Internet Research Agency, and you can look it up. It is well documented. All right, so a high-level security expert working in the field estimated that even with a complete private crash course, China would still likely be able to exfiltrate the AGI weights if it was their number one priority. The only way to get this probability to the single digits would require more or less a government project. While the government does not have a perfect track record on security themselves, they're the ones who have the infrastructure, know-how, and competencies to protect national defense level secrets. Basic stuff like the authority to subject employees to intense vetting, threaten imprisonment for leaking secrets, physical security for data centers, and the vast know-how of places like the NSA and the people behind the security clearances. Private companies simply don't have the expertise on state actor attacks. So yeah, the government can arrest you, the government can beat you, the government can kill you. Private companies can't do that. So when it comes to training, the government can put you in a situation where you have to complete your training or you will be sent to prison. All companies can do is fire you. I'm not one of the people behind the security clearances, so I can't give a proper accounting of what security for AGI will truly require. The best public resource on this is RAND's report on weight security. To give a taste of what this state actor proof security will actually mean, fully air-gapped data centers with physical security on par with most secure military bases, cleared personnel, physical fortifications, on-site response team, extensive surveillance, and extreme access control. And not just for training clusters, inference clusters need the same intense security. So inference fleets will likely be much larger than training clusters, and there will be overwhelming pressure to use these inference clusters to run automated AI researchers during the intelligence explosion and run billions of superintelligences more broadly in the immediate aftermath. The AGI/superintelligence weights could thus be exfiltrated from these clusters as well. I worry that this is underrated and inference clusters will be much less protected. Novel technical advances in confidential compute/hardware encryption, but you can't rely only on this. Hardware encryption regularly gets side-channeled. Defense in depth is key, of course, and extreme scrutiny on the entire hardware supply chain. All research personnel working from a SCIF, so this should be familiar to people in the United States because this was in the news a lot, sensitive compartmentalized information facility, pronounced SCIF, see this visualization. So this is, yeah. So data centers might operate more like SCIFs. Extreme personal vetting and security clearances, including regular employee integrity testing and the like, constant monitoring and substantially reduced freedoms to leave, and rigid information siloing. So that's important to know. Even though it's going to be this trillion-dollar industry, it might be really, really kind of not the best work environment because you might be under attack, for one, which wouldn't be so great, and then the security might be just really bad. Really, well, it says it right there. Substantially reduced freedoms to leave. So rigid information siloing can be hard too. Working with other teams trying to get stuff done, it's like have to go through this annoying process just to do something that everyone knows, that my boss is actively trying to make happen. All right, so strong internal controls such as multi-key sign-off to run any code, strict limitations on any external dependencies, and satisfying general requirements of TS/SCI networks. Ongoing intense pen testing by the NSA or similar, and so on. The giant AGI clusters are being mapped out right now, and corresponding security effort must be too. If we are building AGI in just a few years, we have very little time. Still, this immense effort shouldn't lead to fatalism. The saving grace on security is that the CCP probably isn't fully AGI pilled yet, and so not yet investing in the most extreme efforts. American AI lab security only has to stay ahead of the curve compared to the intensity of Chinese espionage efforts. That means immediately upgrading security to stay ahead of more normal economic espionage, which we are far from resistant to, but private companies probably could be. And that means over the next couple years, as Chinese and other foreign espionage ramps up, rapidly upgrading to much more intense measures in cooperation with the government. Some argue that strict security measures and their associated friction aren't worth it because they would slow down American AI labs too much. But I think that's mistaken. And that's interesting because that's a little bit of a... That's interesting. That's interesting that the author would see like climate change and trying to mitigate that as something that like obviously that should be set to the side, but security measures should not. And it kind of makes sense when you think of the arguments so far. If you think of it like the Gatling gun or the nuclear weapon, the entity to get to it first is the one that benefits from it most. So Uh, so security measures prevents it from being leaked out to another entity and possibly giving them an advantage in getting to it first, because all they need is the weights, and they saved all the money that you spent on your fancy data centers and stuff like that to generate the weights. This is a tragedy of the commons problem. For a given lab's commercial interests, security measures that cause a 10% slowdown might be deleterious in competition with other labs, but the national interest is clearly better served if every lab were willing to accept the additional friction. American AI research is way ahead of Chinese and other foreign algorithmic progress, and America retaining 90% speed algorithmic progress as our national edge is clearly better than retaining 0% as a national edge, with everything instantaneously stolen. Moreover, ramping security now will be the less painful path in terms of research productivity in the long run. Eventually, inevitably, if only on the cusp of superintelligence in the extraordinary arms race to come, the United States government will realize the situation is unbearable and demand a security lockdown. It will be so much more painful and cause much more of a slowdown to have to implement extreme state actor proof security measures from a standing start rather than iteratively. Others argue that even if our secrets or weights leak, we will still manage to eke out just ahead by being faster in other ways, so we needn't worry about security measures. That too is mistaken, or at least running way too much risk. As I discuss in a later piece, I think the CCP may well be able to brutally outbuild the US. A 100 gigawatt cluster will be much easier for them. More generally, China might not have the same caution slowing it down that the US will, both reasonable and unreasonable caution. Even if stealing the algorithms or weights only puts them on par with the US model-wise, it might be enough for them to win the race to superintelligence. Alright. This might be all I can do for now. I wasted a lot of time at the beginning. But half an hour's really only spent like 15 minutes reading, but it's early in the morning here, so it's a good stopping point as well. So yeah, you know what? I'm gonna finish it up. I just don't have the same in me today, so that's it. And when we come back, we'll read more about the security aspect of superintelligence.